A lot of folks believe that a KeyBank business line of credit is kind of complicated, but based on our experience, this is totally the opposite. The only thing is you need to have a formula, you need to have a plan, you need to actually engineer a good action plan to qualify right off the bat for a KeyBank business line of credit. And this is what I'm actually going to explain to you into this conversation. So here are the synopsis. So when you think about a KeyBank business line of credit, you're basically talking about a loan, let's say a line of credit amount that goes from $10,000 to $500,000. So this is really generous for a regional, let's say a tier 2 bank such as KeyBank. So $10,000 to $500,000. This is really good. And you actually, so the business line of credit is renewable every 12 months. And you are looking at a line of credit that you can access to take care of everything. Okay, this can provide seasonal cash flow. You can use the cash to purchase inventory or cover other short-term working capital needs. And what we love here is that with KeyBank, you have a series of advisors who are there to kind of help you out. Okay, so when you talk about a KeyBank business line of credit, I want you to think about a line of credit that can be either secured or unsecured. You have competitive pricing. You have monthly payments with interest-only options. You have a hassle-free renewal process. And here, this business line of credit may be eligible for SBA guarantee, on top of the fact that you have easy 24/7 access to the funds. So when you think about the pros and cons of KeyBank in terms of the business line of credit, remember that KeyBank has a wide selection of lending products, including SBA products, including business line of credit, including business installment loans. And the good thing here is that you need to understand that 100% equipment financing is available. So if you're looking for a business line of credit for your equipment financing needs, you can also get that through a KeyBank. And so those are the pros. Those are the big pros. Obviously, one important advantage is that you have a large, like a national bank, not national bank, but semi-national bank. What about the cons? Well, the lending products are only available in 17 states, so it's a semi-national bank. And KeyBank is not really transparent about the rates and fees. And so it's one important, you have to be clear. It's the best way to do this is to contact a branch, so you have a clear idea of what's you can expect here. But what I want to say here is that everything starts by you calling 1-888-KEY for biz, 1-888-539-4249. Okay, that way you can ask all questions and they'll answer you. And KeyBank is really good. And the working hours are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. through 7 p.m. Eastern, Saturday 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, and Sunday 9 a.m. through 12 p.m. Eastern. Let me talk to you about the eligibility. So if you're looking to qualify for a KeyBank business line of credit, here are some the borrower requirements. So KeyBank wants you to have in terms of the minimum annual revenue, it goes from $100,000 all the way to $250,000. So this is the minimum annual revenue. We're speaking here about gross revenue, okay, before taxes. And so in terms of the minimum time in business, KeyBank wants you to be in business for at least 3 years. Now, there are some exceptions. There are some exceptional cases where KeyBank will approve you if you're a startup. That's if you have a relationship with the bank. If you have a prior relationship with the bank, it will definitely approve you, not a problem at all. So it's one of those situations where having a relationship really helps, okay? And the minimum credit score that KeyBank wants you to have is 590. We've seen based on our experience that in all 17 states, the minimum credit score goes from 590 all the way to 625, 630. So in all the 17 states that KeyBank covers, this is what they want. And so if you are trying to get a KeyBank business line of credit, just make sure that you start the process a little earlier, because a KeyBank does take time to review everything. Okay, so just please pay attention to that. And so when we talk about today's topic, of course, we're having a conversation about how to qualify real quick for a KeyBank business line of credit. And the required documents are not really that complicated, okay? Nothing really fancy here. KeyBank wants you to have personal tax returns for all business owners, personal financial statements from the business owner or any high-ranking employee, business tax returns. So this will be 1065 if you're an LLC, or 1120S if you're an S corporation, or 1120 if you're a C corporation. business financial statements for the current year and the last 3 years. Okay, so you have to show your balance sheet, your income statements, your cash flow statements, and your owner's equity statements. And KeyBank wants to see also your articles of incorporation and bylaws and an agent report for unpaid invoices. So if you're applying for a secured business line of credit, you'll need to provide information on the collateral for valuation purposes. And KeyBank has let's say, I would say, personnel in-house that will actually appraise everything. In some cases, they might actually outsource the appraisal process, but overall, they do things in-house. Let me give you an overview about the KeyBank business line of credit. It's really important to understand that besides business line of credit, you can also get a business loan through KeyBank. Obviously, I've said this before, that KeyBank is not it's not a national bank. It is a regional bank. But hey, listen, if you are lucky enough to be in the geography that KeyBank covers, in other words, one of those 17 states, this is really good. So when we speak about the KeyBank business line of credit, you're talking about a credit product that allows you to also access other forms of business credit products. For example, business loans. And the cool thing is that when we talk about business loans, you are able to use the loans for a lot of things. I mean, we really love the fact that KeyBank does not place restrictions on the use of loan proceeds. There are some banks and credit unions in this country that will place restrictions on the use of loan proceeds, and KeyBank is not one of those institutions. Which means what? It means that you have a latitude when it comes to using the money. Okay, again, I want to remind you that when we speak about a KeyBank business line of credit, we are speaking about a revolving line of credit that goes from $10,000 all the way to $500,000. So when you see that delta, when you see that range, this is really good. And what I want to say here is that remember that KeyBank looks at three things. KeyBank does not require you to have a relationship with them before applying for a business line of credit. However, it does help a lot. I mean, I'd say 1,000%. So having a relationship is really good. You want to pay attention to your company's financial information, especially your revenue and cash flow situation. And the third thing is you want to be compliant with all laws and regulations that are applicable in the jurisdictions where you do business, where you conduct business. What does that mean? It means that KeyBank might randomly ask you to provide articles of incorporation or articles of organization. KeyBank might ask you randomly to provide business licenses and permits that are applicable to the industry you're operating in. They do this a lot. I mean, we've seen them do it with a lot of our clients. And KeyBank also might actually ask you to provide a certificate of good standing from the state, and also pay attention to your credit scores. I see credit scores, your business credit scores and your personal credit scores. The thing is, when we talk about a KeyBank business line of credit, there is a certain approach that I want you to really think about so that you can actually be approved right off the bat. And as I said before you apply for a KeyBank business line of credit, ask yourself, am I better off going for a KeyBank business term loan, or do I really need to have a revolving line of credit? Because chances are you might be needing right now a business term loan, not a business line of credit. We've seen this a lot. A lot of business owners, they think, they have no clear idea of what they really want. They just need access to cash. They want access to cash, and so they don't really think about, I would say, the intricacies of each credit product. So you got to ask yourself, if you go for a business term loan, a KeyBank business term loan, I would say the terms are different. So why are those terms different? So for a KeyBank business term loan, you are looking at a term that goes from 12 months to 84 months. So so right off the bat, you can see here that the repayment window, the tenor of the loan, goes from 1 year to 7 years. The loan amount, minimum and maximum, are the same as what you will have with a business line of credit. So you're looking at $10,000 to $500,000. And the minimum monthly payment will vary depending on the particulars of the loan. But one thing I want to say here is that you can actually get this loan for a lot of things. For a business, like you can get a business term loan for a lot of things. You can actually do the inventory. You can buy it. You can pay. You can cover payroll. You can actually also cover equipment financing if you need that. But that's a good thing. And you may be eligible for SBA guarantee. So one thing I want to say here is that to come back to the conversation to today's topic, I'm talking to you about how to qualify for a KeyBank business line of credit. So you have to understand, if you're looking for a business line of credit versus a term loan, there are consequences, and the loan amounts are kind of similar. But the most important thing is that, do you want to pay? Do you want to make a payment every month, or do you want to have a line of credit that you can tap into when needed? In other words, there is no interest running. You use the cash when you need it. So it's all about the flexibility that you really are looking for. Let me give you the steps that you really need to take right now if you want to qualify for a KeyBank business line of credit. One thing I want to say here is that when we speak about KeyBank, we have to talk about the element of geography here, right? So KeyBank is a geo-restricted institution. And so KeyBank is available in 17 states. We have Alaska, Colorado, Connecticut, Idaho, Indiana, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New Hampshire, New York, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Utah, Vermont, and Washington state of Washington. So you can see that KeyBank is not available in the nation's capital, DC. But so you really want to make sure that you are in that geography first, okay? And it's important because we've seen a lot of clients being denied for their KeyBank business line of credit because they were not in that geography. So you got to be in the right geography, number one. Number two, you got to take care of your collateral, business, personal credit scores, and personal guarantees. You could qualify for an EIN only, let's say business line of credit at KeyBank, but the process here is more involved. Is more, I would say, it demands more planning, but it is totally possible. If you're interested in applying for an EIN only business line of credit at KeyBank, just let us know in the comment section. We'll let you know how to do things. But you have to think about your collateral also. If you want to secure this business line of credit, then think about the collateral option as well. And you also want to think about your personal and business credit score. So now is the time to actually look at your FICO, and KeyBank will approve you if you start at 590. So we have seen, based on our experience, that 590 to 625 is a good ballpark that KeyBank likes. And so you are able to qualify as long as you have a great relationship with the bank. See, the lower your credit score, the more important it becomes to have a relationship with KeyBank. In terms of your business credit score, if you have anywhere from 85 to 95, you are good to go. In some cases, KeyBank might approve you if you have a paydex score of 75 to 80. So this is totally possible. But again, it's important to understand that you need to have the right relationship with KeyBank if you want to qualify with the lower credit score. Let me kind of give you a few pro tips if you are looking for, if you want to apply and if you want to apply successfully for a KeyBank business line of credit. Just make sure that besides your credit score, besides your I would say your collateral and all that kind of stuff, just make sure overall whether or not you have, let's say, because depending on the line of credit amount, KeyBank might ask for additional requirements. They might ask you for additional documentation. For example, they might ask for audited financials. They might ask you to have an auditor, like a CPA firm, provide some kind of assurance that your financial statements are good to go. Usually, it starts if you are asking for a line of credit amount that exceeds $250,000, or you are in an industry that is a little sensitive. Okay, like the macro and the micro information in that industry is a little sensitive. So KeyBank wants to double check. They want to make sure that they are dealing with the right person or the right company. So just keep in mind, they might ask you for that. They might ask you for some information about UCC liens. If you have UCC liens, they'll ask you about that. Remember that. So what will happen here is that KeyBank will look at liens against your assets. And so many companies might have a UCC filed on your business without you realizing it. So the bank is going to check all those things to make sure And so you have to also, so besides audited financial situations, I mean, for financial statements, you might have to actually look at your UCC liens, but you also need to see your overall situation, like your standing. Your standing with the state. I spoke about that earlier. So, do you have a certificate of good standing? A lot of companies believe they are in good standing with the state, only to realize after much digging, that they're not. So, when was the last time you filed your annual report with your state? When was the last time you actually paid payroll taxes? When was the last time you actually remitted to the states your sales tax amount? So those are important elements that could actually disqualify you from a KeyBank business line of credit, because KeyBank is one of those institutions that like to go granular when it comes to a business line of credit. They'll ask for a lot of information, and if you don't have those pieces of information, you might not qualify. This is why we always advise all our clients, all our business clients, and all viewers for that matter, to contact KeyBank first. That way, you have a clear idea of what they might ask you. You have a clear idea about what the conditions are, because see, what I'm giving you in today's conversation, this is just those are prerequisites, right? KeyBank might change their policies when it comes to a business line of credit, and it's up to you to make sure you have the latest information. Let me talk to you about the rivals. See, the thing is, you can try to get a business line of credit at KeyBank, and maybe you tried everything, but you didn't get the line of credit. What happens? Well, we can't really tell, but I just want to reassure you that there are options. There is a backup plan, and there are other institutions in the nation that can actually help you out. Now, KeyBank is a great institution, don't get me wrong, but if you don't get approved, try to get approved at US Bank or go to Bank of America. The cool thing about US Bank here is that you also have a mid-tier institution that is also geo-restricted. And so you have secured and unsecured term loans and lines of credit. You have business line of credit, business lines of credit, business term loans. You have commercial real estate loans. You have equipment financing, SBA 7A, and SBA 504 loans. That's for US Bank. For Bank of America, you have the chance of having a national colossus in the banking arena. So a bank that is available in nearly all 50 states. You have secured and unsecured term loans, secured and unsecured business lines of credit. You have commercial real estate loans, business auto loans, equipment financing, healthcare practice loans, SBA 7A loans, SBA Express loans, SBA 504 loans. That's for the availability of loans here. In terms of the time to funding, for KeyBank, you're looking at 2 to 7 days. For US Bank, you're looking at 1 to 4 days. And for Bank of America, you're looking for 2 to 14 days, depending on the backlog they have. And the maximum loan amount here, obviously for KeyBank, I just told you, $500,000. For US Bank, the same thing. For Bank of America, you can go all the way to $10 million. Obviously, Bank of America has a larger balance sheet than KeyBank. So here you have it, you have this, you can see this in the generosity that banks have. But overall, one thing I want to say here is that you do have options. You do have options, and whether you're looking for a business line of credit, a business term loan, an SBA loan, you have options whether you go with KeyBank, US Bank, or Bank of America. Thank you so much for your attention. I want to quickly recap today's conversation here. So in today's conversation, I'll talk to you about how to be approved for a KeyBank business line of credit. I gave you a synopsis, the eligibility, the overview of the business line of credit, the approach you need to follow here. I gave you the steps that you need to follow to actually qualify real fast, the pro tips, and I spoke quickly about the rivals, specifically about US Bank and Bank of America. Thank you so much for your attention. God bless you. I'll see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.